Larsson. Oh, he's in! Henrik Larsson! That is sensational! O'Reilly, how about that for a pass? Jota! How about that for a finish? That is Jota for you! In for Henrik Larsson, and Moravcik! His first goal for Celtic! Here is Shunsuke Nakamura! Exquisite!
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Celtic Unrestricted View as Martin O'Neill gets his first victory as Celtic manager and his second spell. We bounce back, Shaun. Shaun's joined me in this episode. How are you, Shaun? Martin's back. Brendan resigned. Dermot Desmond comes out swinging. How are you, mate? And I hope you're very well.
Thanks very much, Ryan. Doing well, mate. Good evening to everybody that's tuning in. Obviously, there's been a lot going on the past couple of days, plenty to talk about, and looking forward to all the different opinions and views for the viewers and yourself, Ryan. It's been very interesting.
Obviously, you've not been on, mate, a few days since obviously the news broke about obviously Brendan resigning, mate. So obviously myself and JP were live at the time. When it happened, and a few is what me and him were like, no, he can't be, it's no. And then obviously it was true. So, what was your thoughts about that when it first came out, mate?
Oh, it came as a bit of a shock to me, the same as probably everybody else, purely because the way Brendan had spoke previously up until that point. He came out and promised the fans that he would be here for his full tenure, and unless he got sacked, he wouldn't be going anywhere. So it came as quite a shock that he decided to leave. I would say that was the main thing, but I think my thoughts leading up to the derby on Sunday was that if Harry failed to win that, then given the situation Rangers have been in with new managers and the uncertainty at their side, I thought if he didn't win that derby, then the heat would be well and truly on him.
Well, I'm the same as you, mate. I think if he was still the manager by obviously yesterday, and even if we get a victory but the performance wasn't there, then you go into obviously the game on Sunday. If we didn't beat them, obviously considering we've not beat them in 90 minutes in 5 games. I know we won the Scottish Cup or the League Cup final against them. But the fact that we've not beaten 90 minutes in 5 games under his tenure, and then if it became a 6, I'm like you, mate, I think fans would have been saying, right, if we're still maybe 8 points behind Hearts out the cup, maybe it's time to kind of end it there. So do you think it's maybe as much as it was a shock, mate, and could you see a change in the way it was happening? Do you think Brendan could have changed it? Or do you think it was getting to the stage where the last few months it was one maybe performance out of 3 or 4, and could he turn that around? Do you think this new freshness is maybe something that was actually needed for the team, mate?
Even up until he resigned, I always had faith that Brendan could turn it around just because the manager and the coach that he is. I would say that I thought his interview after the Dundee game and pre-Hearts, when the heat was on him, he was getting asked a few questions about his comments about the Honda Civic and all that. I thought in that interview he looked really, really stressed. He looked like, and obviously the comment he made, he'd had an interview with Sky directly after the game, where that comment wasn't made, and then he's obviously been away, had a bit of time to think, and then he made that comment, and I just found it was totally a bizarre comment to make, given the opposition he was up against. I could understand it if it was, after like playing like a Real Madrid in the Champions League or something, or or a higher quality team. But the timing for using that comment, it just seemed like he was going off the rails a bit, which is uncharacteristic of him. And interviews, he normally speaks very well, and as I said, that Hearts interview, P. Hearts, I thought he looked really, really stressed and under the caution. Possibly the writing was on the wall for Rodgers, given how the results had been. I think there was a stat flying about that we'd failed to score in 6 of our games thus far this season, and last season, the entire season, I think we'd failed to score in 6 games. So it doesn't make for good reading. But I think maybe the team did need something refreshing to come in, because when your manager's speaking like that and acting like that, it's bound to rub off on you. Even if in all walks of life, you're in a job and the leadership from the top isn't inspiring under what's underneath them, then it doesn't make for a healthy environment. And I think Rodgers set the ball rolling with that. That's my belief for the summer. So I think the freshness coming in is going to help us a lot, mate.
I think it will as well, Shaun. I still had faith in the manager and the team, but when the results are a bit part, the performances aren't really changing. It's hard to, as much as we are Celtic fans and we've got belief in these players who are winners, been there and done it, I think they've got to show you that it's going to turn. And I personally didn't feel it before. After Hearts, I'm thinking, right, is this going to change here? It's the same tactics, the same players who are not playing well. We'll obviously touch on the game a bit as we go. Shaun, obviously, Tati didn't play. For me, the midfield looked a bit better than it has been with him in the team performance. So, but obviously as well, Dermot Desmond, mate, he's come out swinging as well in his statement. Well, I don't know if you agree with it. I know a lot of people it's a bit of to and fro, mate. Either way, mate, it's unexpected. He doesn't really speak. He's quite a quiet man. He is a shrewd man. He only talks when he has to talk. So what was your thoughts on his statement? Was he right to do it in public? Was he right to say certain words? Or do you think he can maybe say that in certain ways and no being as kind of upfront about Rodgers as a person?
My thoughts on it, whether people agree or disagree, is neither here nor there. But I quite liked it, mate. I thought it showed a bit of backbone. Came out, and he's probably, Rodgers had set the narrative, I believe, the summer, and it's carried all the way through. And he's like cryptic messages, and the way he's pushed this narrative and agenda. And I think it seemed like the response is somebody that just had enough, and he was like, I'm going to have him, type of thing. Like he's not getting away with that. Like he's pushed this narrative all summer. It's affected the team. It's affected the culture at the club, and I was fully behind the statement for them. I think the main thing for me, I know the part of the commenters are saying it's a disgrace, character assassination and whatnot, but I don't mind it. I don't mind calling somebody out when they need to be called out, and I think Rodgers is a big reason why the team have looked so lethargic, just so they just look so demotivated, and that starts from the top in any walk of life, in any job, anywhere you go. Like the culture and the motivation starts from the top, and I don't think Rodgers has done that. And they're obviously, I don't think Desmond would come out and say that, and sort of all the stuff he said, and ruin his sort of reputation and his credibility. I believe that with Rodgers, that the theme with Rodgers has happened before. In other clubs he's been at, and the fans have went against him, and then he's blamed this and he's blamed that, and that seems to be a theme with Rodgers. So the fact, coupled that, when I couple that with the fact that it's uncharacteristic Dermot Desmond to come out and do that, I'm siding with Dermot on it, Ryan. I think that what he's saying is true, just purely based on Rodgers had told us that he was going to see out his 3 year. He didn't, so he's lied to us. You know, that's you can't come out and promise the fans that and then walk away. You know, he could have at least still seen it, because that's all he constantly told us. And when I add that along with Rodgers has done this, he done it with us as well. Like, you know, his third season at us, his first time round, he done the exact same. He done it with Leicester, he done it with Liverpool. So to me, there's no credibility there with Rodgers to then back him and say that, you know, there hasn't been something there. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like all the fans have spoken about is like how the board and the you know, the backroom staff and team are being silent and they're not coming out and they're not communicating and they're not talking with us. I welcomed that for Desmond. I thought, you know, good on you. You know, show as I said, showed a bit of backbone and not just taking it lying down. A lot of people look like it's, you know, it's not professional and yeah, blah blah blah, but you know, sometimes things need to be called how it is, Ryan, and you know, bluntly I know that's how it needs to be.
Like I say, mate, I've obviously said a wee bit the last few days about it. I think until I get any information about everything, then you can maybe point certain things. But I just think they're all to blame, personally, Shaun, the manager, the board, even the players not performing. I think it's just a full collective. It's not been a really good time the last few months. I think the board have lied to us, the manager's lied to us. I think the board and the manager are culprit to the full thing. I think it is a poor collective. Obviously, statements for the board, the AI statement, talking rubbish in that, and then Rodgers came out and talked rubbish, the Honda Civic thing. I think for me, as you know, Shaun, when things go wrong, somebody wants to pinpoint somebody or something. And I think for me, it's a full collective. Obviously, there'll be maybe Rodgers has done things, board have said things, but I just think as a collective, mate, they've not been in harmony together. They've not been probably sided together. The board have come and lied. He's lied. I just think maybe now, I think we've all just decided now we need to just turn the corner now. We need to just back the team now. Martin's come in. The team looked a wee bit better in the first half, but a lot better in the second half, as we'll touch on now, mate, the game. Obviously, Martin O'Neill came back. Obviously, what's your thoughts on that, mate? It was at the blue. Were you thinking, right, this is a good thing, or do you think, oh, I'm not sure about this? He obviously is getting older. He's no managed in 6 years or so. Didn't have the best of times his last few jobs, but do you think maybe this is just the ideal figure, just to come in for a few games, make us kind of solidified again, help the team, maybe help guys and the team who maybe suffering for a bit of confidence, maybe a bit of man management, or do you think it's maybe something that maybe could have got somebody else in quicker? Obviously, this is came out the blue, but do you think Martin's maybe him and Shaun and the coaching staff, obviously Mark Forum's experienced, maybe not the best of managers, but as a coach, he's very highly regarded. McManus has been here as well, so do you think it could be a good mixture, mate, for the next few games?
I was absolutely delighted when Martin O'Neill was announced. I absolutely love Martin O'Neill, not just for what he done at Celtic, but just as a human being, as a person. He's a joy to watch, even when he's a pundit, because he tells it how it is, and Martin O'Neill will fall on his sword with his words. He'll no shy away from speaking his beliefs and his opinions, and he's came in for a lot of stick for the comments he's made about Hearts and that, but he's well within his rights to make the comments. But I was delighted to see Martin back, club legend, done amazing things at Celtic. He's a fantastic manager and coach, a really good character, just genuinely nice guy, and again a bit like like McCoy, although he played for the other mob, he's well liked within. I think you would find a lot of Rangers fans that respect Martin O'Neill for how he is as a person, and as I say, his punditry's top notch. Anytime you watch him on even like Talk Sport and that, he's absolutely brilliant to watch, and I think that's exactly the type of person we need around the building, and amongst the players. And he's definitely going to, bring more harmony to the club. He already has with the fans. I think the fans have really, really got behind him. And he's back with the team and all. Obviously, John Kennedy moving on. I think that's probably the right thing for his career as well. I know he'd only stayed on because Rodgers had come in. He quite openly came out and said that it was Rodgers coming in that was the reason he actually stayed on, or else he would have moved on. So that again, I'm for that as well. And it seems like he's back. Sean Maloney's obviously been in there. Again, he's one of these guys that's well revered by the Celtic fans, and he's been away. He's done a bit of coaching himself. He's played at a higher level as well. So he obviously brings a lot. And Fozzie just seems like an absolute character. I seen a wee clip actually. It was the day I was watching, and when all the players were coming off the pitch, and he was the one at the front, getting congratulating them, and gave them that sort of recognition. And I think that's it just looked like it just had a really good feel-good factor about it. I thought the team played really well. Thought they were direct, and it's I don't know. If Martin O'Neill was here to the end of the season, I'd be quite happy with that, mate. Depending on how his run of games goes, but that's how highly I regard Martin O'Neill. If he was a man to be in the dugout for the rest of the season, I'd be quite happy with that, mate.
We've seen stranger things happen, mate. So I generally, when they put it past it happening, I can't see it happening, but I do get what you're saying, mate. I don't think it wouldn't be the worst of things that happen if we continue to win, because at the end of the day, mate, if people get results, it's results. So that's the most. Aye. No, it's bang on, mate. The results is football's a results driven business, mate. So if Martin and Shaun are getting results, who knows what the board will think about it. Obviously, we'll touch on some of the managers near the end, mate. Obviously, what you feel if any of them are interested in you. But obviously, the game, mate, would you make it? Obviously, Osmond on the bench, no Yamada, Sirachi played. Trusty came back in. I thought he should have been playing on Sunday. I know me and JP had a wee debate about obviously Dave Murray and Trusty last week about the game on Sunday, and I still think Dave Murray shouldn't have played on Sunday. I don't know what Rodgers was playing it, but obviously it could be one reason why he's been out the door as well, because some decision makings and picking players, I don't know where it's from. It went like you says, mate. Maybe he did go off the rails a wee bit and just wasn't on it anymore. I don't know, but obviously Sirachi, mate, I thought he was really good. But what was your thoughts on the team line, mate? Obviously before the game kicked off.
The team line, obviously, it wouldn't be our first choice 11 due to obviously injuries and lacking reinforcements in certain areas. But for what we've got, I think you know me, I'm a big advocate for Donovan at right back. I'm just not a big fan of Ralston, but he did play well, and I understand the choice to put Ralston in there. He has got the experience, but I thought the team selection was pretty good, mate. It was probably as best as you could, do for what we've got. I was on the Dave Murray sort of train for the Hearts game. Obviously, it didn't work out. Just because I've liked what I've seen of the boy, but obviously that game was just maybe a game too much for him in terms of the pressure and so that is unfortunate for him. But I do think that boy is going to be a really good centre back for us going forward in the future. It's just unfortunate that he had that howler and didn't really recover for it since then. But again, that's back to the manager and his, he picked him.
Yeah.
And he brought in Trusty. He was the one that spent the money on Trusty, and you know, didn't feel that he could back him for that game, you know, which is bizarre because, like, as well, in the sense of, like, he went and he played Trusty Scales away to Atalanta and, you know, a huge game in the Champions League, and we got a result there. So, Rodgers is, I mean, I've been saying for weeks to try Taneki on the right, I think, and play Maeda on the left, but, you know, he just wouldn't do it. He just, you know.
What do you make of that, Sean? About his comments about saying that Taneki doesn't like playing there or can't play there, but yet he plays there with Tunisia. He's played there with Hammarby. He's played there with Bodo. You played football yourself. Well, we played football, Sean. I know we all like our preferred foot, but at that level, if you can't change wings and play, it doesn't matter if you like it or I don't like it. You're playing for the team. Whatever helps your team. Does that know a bit of a weird thing as well, saying that he doesn't want to play there, he can't play there, but then before he signed, he says he can play both wings.
It's very bizarre, and he's playing Balikwisha out of position, and
aye, but then he played right mid last night.
I know.
And they came on.
I know, and then he's happy to play Maeda out of position, who's probably one of your stronger players on the left if you're going to play him anywhere. You know, striker on left, you're not going to be playing him on the right. It was just, to not even try it, I thought was bizarre. Like, even when we had Jota and Maeda, or, you know, Jota and Kun, we would rotate them. That's just a basic thing in with wingers. Even when I played the game and I played I was right footed and I like to play on the right. But even I would swap sides, and you know that's just a thing you do with wingers. You swap them.
Yep.
We used to play with Abada, and you know, even though Abada was better on the right, we used to rotate and swap them. But Rodgers didn't seem to do that, and I found it incredibly strange, given that if it worked with Taneki on the right, then you had the perfect harmony with, you know, Taneki on the right, Maeda on the left, and he had to go through the middle. Very bizarre that he wouldn't try that. He would rather even play Negro out in the right, who's clearly no a right-sided player. Obviously, he's played that, but for me, Rodgers was doing some really, really strange things. His reluctance to change his system and change his, you know, and this whole gone like for like with players, subs, it was just so baffling.
It's weird, mate. I don't understand it, mate. Got a wee comment from Lauren. She says Rodgers' signing record was really poor in her opinion. Refused to let certain players play certain positions. We will touch on that, Lauren. It's something we will mention. Refused to drop the likes of Hatate, who didn't kick a ball for months. What's your thoughts on that, Sean? Obviously, Hatate for the last few weeks, maybe months, hasn't looked really himself, hasn't really performed, but yet he kept playing him. Even when you're trying to change things, he didn't really change him. He changed Engels, he changed Nigren, he didn't really change Hatate. Didn't change McGregor. It was always one of the two that stayed. So, what's your thoughts on that, mate? And obviously, his big signings kind of worked out to a degree, but what's your thoughts on Lauren's comment there, mate?
Again, like the way Rodgers operates at times, I know he's an elite level coach. I'm not going to take it that away from him. What he's achieved with Celtic, you know, is, you know, unrivaled, other than, you know, Jock Stein. So you've got to put Rodgers up there as one of our greatest ever managers in terms of what he's achieved for Celtic. And so, but some of his, I mean, even I think back to, like, you know, when he had Lager, Bielka and Naroki in the team, and his reluctance to play them was also extremely baffling. I mean, Lager Bielka played against us, and he was phenomenal.
Strolled it.
It was absolutely. I mean, and, you know, you could. It was. It strolled.
It was a Beckenbauer at the back there, wasn't he?
You know, maybe it was because he had a point to prove, and, you know, he gave that wee bit extra. But even still, if that's what you can get out of him, you know, if you motivate somebody enough and you can get that out of them, then he was absolutely fantastic. But he's very set, Rodgers, and you know, who he's going to play, when he's going to play them. Like Lauren had said about his, you know, who he brought in. you can understand why the board. I mean, if you're looking at it like, if you take the emotions at it and you're running Celtic Football Club as a business, which the board do, that's what their remit is, to treat Celtic as a business, to get the money coming in, to keep us financially secure, to build the revenue of the club, put us in the most stable position as possible. Then you've got Rodgers throwing away 22, 25 million on players that are sitting on the bench. You know, at one point, all his signings were on the bench, £22 million, whatever it is it was. That's no good business. So I can see why the board were like, you know, if you were running a business yourself, and you know the guy, the man beneath you, your manager, you're the CEO, and your manager below you just spent 22 million and you've not seen anything come back for it, really, or you're not seeing, you know, profit in these guys going forward, you're going to think twice about investing more money into that person in their vision. So, but at the same time, I still think you should have been gave, you know, that wee bit to spend as well. So, his signings just did not really work. And he's, you know, Hatate, I think, you know, there's been people saying, my brother for one, that Hatate, even for last season, was probably coming near the ones, because you don't really see any progression with Hatate. He doesn't get, he's just staying the same. Or, you know, he goes these long periods of games where he does nothing, and then you get this one game at him where he's absolutely phenomenal. And that's just the inconsistency for Hatate. He's just, it's no becoming a Celtic player. You need the consistency. But as well, like, I thought Balakwisha looked, even though he came out, you know, he was playing in his unnatural position, I thought he looked so much better the other night there. I don't know. There was the whole post he put up with like the praying hands and stuff. I don't know if you've seen that.
He put one up as well, and he took it off. He put up a photo last night saying on to new beginnings, and he took that off and all. So something's happened with him and Rodgers, obviously.
This is the thing, Ryan, and you remember the whole thing with Dembele and Rodgers, where he was calling him, was it a snake or a rat?
He says, remember, be careful who your leader is, or something, or something like that.
Aye. So there's definitely, for me, there's definitely something there with Rodgers that, you know, when it's coming to the end of his tenure and stuff, and when things aren't quite happening for him, he seems to push narratives, Rodgers. So I think I know Arnie Engels. I know Rodgers was tasked with trying to make him, you know, a more forward, advanced player. But I thought Engels the other night there next to McGregor looked absolutely solid. If you're playing if Martin O'Neill, which it looks like maybe he's going to play with a double pivot, and let Nygren play in that 10 role, and just you know that's going to work for us. That is going to work for us, because Engels is going to be playing in his natural position. As I say, I know Rodgers was tasked with the job of turning him into maybe a more like forward, advanced player, but that's no Engels' position. That's no his strengths. And it just didn't work out. But I thought he looked absolutely solid the other night there. And maybe now being played in his right position and a run of games behind him, mate, I think you might, you know, see why this boy's got the price tag on him that he has.
I've been a big fan of Engels since he signed, Shaun. I know certain games, especially against Rangers and that, he's not really been up to it. But I agree with Simon Dong. Obviously, I couldn't get to the game last night, so obviously I watched it on telly. And even Simon Donnelly was saying, he says Engels he's not flashy. He says, but he's so fit. He says he does a lot of running. He's get powerful. He says he's basically, you don't really notice him. And I've always said that. I'm not saying that he's going to be the next best thing, but I think when you play players in the position, like you mentioned, Shaun, we can touch on that, because Nygren, I think, is a 10, plays him as a 10. He's a pure enigma. 1 minute he does something, you're thinking, Jesus Christ, you're no great. And then he does something brilliant, you're thinking, right, you've got something here. he's always there for a shot or a goal. Or he's always creating chances. So Negan for me is a 10. McGregor, let him do what he's got today. Let Engels sit and just let. I think McGregor was different class last night. So, but what was your thoughts on obviously that, mate? Like you mentioned, playing guys in the positions. Do you think that is definitely something that Rodgers obviously didn't do? And I agree with you on Lagerbielke and Nerowski. I'm not saying that they two are less than Maldini, but I know you're obviously talking about Dane Murray, but for what I've seen, mate, I don't see Dane Murray better than they two. I don't see how they two were not even given I don't get it, mate, because like I said the other day with JP, Nerowski played 3 games, very decent. 4 out of deep end against Rangers, Hearts and Dundee, he was brilliant. And then binned him. Lagerbielke and Scales at Ibrox, brilliant. And then he bins him.
One of the toughest places you're going to go to.
So I make sense of that, mate. I don't get it. And then obviously positional sense, he's putting Negan out wide. He's doing this. I'm like you, mate. I rate Rodgers highly. I still think on the park he's to blame for them not playing well and playing guys out of position and playing guys who maybe no fit, guys who are fit on the bench should be playing. So obviously, what is your thoughts about that, mate? Do you think Martin and Shaun are going to actually get a system or a formation or guys to play a system and play in a position instead of just playing guys who are good and actually just picking a team that's going to win a game for that game, i.e. coming up for Sunday now as well?
I think Rodgers, because he's got such a big ego, Rodgers, I mean, his ego's huge. I think once he makes his mind up about something, that's it.
Gucci belt.
The Rodge.
Aye.
I was saying today to the boys at work, how funny, right? Would it be just as if the saga couldn't get any more crazier if Celtic went on a 9 in a row run. We lose one manager on the 9th title, and then Rodgers comes in for the 10.
Wins the 10. I told you to be back for the 10, lads.
We'd be saying he's here for 10 in a row.
I Brendan Rodgers, he's back. I can't see that happening now, but to be honest with you, mate, but it's wishful thinking, I suppose, isn't it?
Never say never, but it just seems like even. I know, like, I absolutely love Kieran Tierney, right? He's solid, and I was so excited with him coming back. A tremendous player, but you could see we'd lost a lot of the attacking threat for Greg Taylor leaving, obviously, in the summer. And Sarachi never really got a good chance of run out with Rodgers, and he seems to link up really well with Tenecchio on the left. He seems a real driving force on that left-hand side, and he can defend. So, Rodgers just seemed very set in his beliefs, and that was that. But in terms of players playing in the right position, I think Negrin. I really like Negrin. I've liked him for he came into the club. He's the amount of goals he's getting. For the club he came from, he was in the high 20s. I'm sure. His last. And then he's I think he's top goal scorer for us this season.
I think that's 5 he's doing it, I think.
I know it's not a lot, but I think it is a lot for the position he's been asked to play because he's been moved about here, there and everywhere. He's been took out the squad, he's had to deal with a lot, and I think the amount of chances he gets, he's like a striker. It's like having a second striker in there. Mm-hmm. And, he's definitely got an eye for goal. I really like him. I think for the money we paid and the return we've had of him so far, whether you think he's missing a lot, but he's in the position, and like they were saying in the commentary last night, he doesn't let that stop him. He'll miss 2-3 chances, but he's there for the 4th to put it in. He done it against Sturm Graz when he had loads of chances and then he got his header in the end up. It was the same, last night. He did a few good chances that gone wayward, and then he finally got his goal. So I really like that about him, Ryan. I like the fact that, he keeps going. And I think now with Martin and Shaun at the helm, you might see players getting played naturally where they should be.
I agree with you, mate. I think it's obviously players should be able to obviously play in certain positions, but it's always better for the harmony of the team and kind of the team to go forward with guys in positions, mate. So I agree with you on there. We comment from D McDonald, mate. What do either of you think of Shirachi? But I reckon Shirachi has to be one of the first names on the team sheet. Obviously, Shirachi, mate, to D McDonald's comment there. What was your thoughts on him last night, mate? Personally, I thought he was. I know Johnny Kenny scored 2 goals, so he probably get man of the match for that. But I thought Shirachi was different class last night. He showed aggression, he showed fight, flying machine up and down. Looks like Kieran Tierney used to be like. He looks really fit. His deliveries in the box are different class. So, well, Tierney plays a known Sunday. If you need to move Shirachi right back, then go and do it. But I think Tenetke and Shirachi, mate, have got something building there.
I go. In regards to D McDonald's comment, I have to concede and agree. I've hummed and hawed with this, since last night to the day, and I've spoke to people about it. And at first I was saying Tierney for his experience, get him in there, and he's solid at the back. But I think we just need to go for it, mate. I think we need to be positive. I think we need to get on the front foot. I think we need to go after them, and we have to be really positive in that game and try and go and win it. It's a cup game. We need to win it. And I would play Sriracha. I say, if you'd have asked me that this morning, I'd have probably said Tierney, but no, I'm like, nah. He's too much an attacking threat for us. And as I said, he seems to link up really well with Tenetke. They seem to have a good understanding of each other. I think it's because, obviously, he is overlapping and giving Tenetke that option to play the pass or link up with him 1-2s, and it just works well. I would agree with McDonald. I would put him on the starting team for Sunday.
I thought it was really good last night, mate. I think he's been good ever since he's come into the team. Even at Ibrox when he came on, I thought he'd done well.
Do we have an option to buy him, or is he just...
No, that's the thing, mate. So, again, whether or no they can maybe, similar either, they can maybe go back in and maybe try and negotiate. We'll obviously see, because obviously Tierney, I still think Tierney's, when he's played, he's been all right. But you can definitely see, mate, that he's maybe carrying something, or because he did look a bit of pain for the Hearts game at the end of the game. So hopefully, if he's fit for Sunday, he'll win contention. But either way, if it's Sriracha right back or he plays left back, I think Sriracha has to play, mate. Obviously, last night, Johnny Kenny get his start again. I didn't think he was great against Hearts, but he looked a lot better yesterday. I have wrote him off personally. I still think he's got to do a lot more. But obviously, last night, all he can do is score goals, mate, and continue to play. Hopefully, he continues to obviously do that. And I hope I'm proving wrong, but I do think longer term he's maybe going to be, if it's a third choice. Listen, I could be wrong. Been wrong before, be wrong again. But just on last night, mate, I thought his 2 goals were really good. Good movement. And it just shows you when you get good deliveries as well into the strikers, they've all scored goals at Celtic, mate.
Aye, absolutely, mate. And I think, Martin O'Neill teams of the past, that's been a big thing in the squad, getting wingers out wide and getting balls in the box. And I think you're going to see that a lot under O'Neill's tenure, however long he's here. But I thought Kenny, took his goals really well. Took up good positions. He was sharp to the rebound for, I think it was Nigan's shot, or was it a head? I can't quite mind. I think it was maybe a shot. He came back out and he was quite sharp to get on it and get his goal. Obviously, still young. The chance is falling on him. Is he strong enough? Is he big enough to step up and take it? Because if he does, you can't argue it. You can't take him out the team. You can't. There's an argument to keep him in the team. So the way it's came about for him to get his chances, they've been, you wouldn't have probably chose him to be in there ahead of Aniacho, Maeda, even a Yamada. I think folk were saying give Yamada a run it. So he's got it now. He's bagged his 2 goals. Hopefully that gives him the confidence he needs. If he goes and scores against them on Sunday, that's only going to even, excel him even more. Because many strikers of Celtic have failed to do that against them. Giacomakis, for one, he was beloved by the Celtic fans and he never scored against them. So if he gets his goal on Sunday, it helps us on our way to winning, then I keep him in the team.
Obviously, we've all touched on it at the end, mate. Your team for Sunday as well, and what you make of that. What was the major difference for you, mate, of the game? Obviously, I thought the first 10, 15 minutes, it was kind of where it's been. I thought it was a wee bit slow. As one of the commenters says, I think Scales, as much as I think he defends well, I don't think he should be the guy that's starting the attacks. But the second half, into the first half, into the second half, it was much better. It was quicker. It was definitely more direct. The goal for Konecki, more direct. It just shows you, Shaun, that we've spoken about it personally. We've spoken about it on here, that you don't always need to be this full free, rigid horseshoe, tippy-tappy. It can go long. It can be hodded up. It can go into the channels. And within Sunday into Wednesday, there's more directness in the team. And that's not just through a change of attitude for the players. They've been told by probably O'Neill and Maloney, maybe the shackles were off. Listen, have freedom. You decide what's best for you. If you need to go direct, go direct. Because I noticed Casper Schmeichel wasn't playing much for the back last night. He was gone more out wide and more direct. So do you think that is something that you noticed more, or was it just overall you just thought it was... Obviously, we don't want to be too rampant and go, it was brilliant, it was this, we still need to obviously go and win on Sunday, we need to win the next week was... But it's a good start, mate, considering the last few weeks it's been... I don't want to be disrespectful to the guys that have obviously won his loads of trophies, but it's been pretty boring, mate. Sometimes you're watching the game, you're thinking, if this wasn't Celtic, would I really been watching it? It's been hard to watch, but yesterday was much better, mate. And was it just more directness for you, mate? Was the biggest thing, or was there anything else that you picked up more than it has been recently?
No, I agree with yourself. I think it was definitely more direct, more intent, more free flowing. Obviously, apart from the Sturmgras second half, that game, that's last night has probably been one of the better games I've watched and enjoyed watching Celtic this past few weeks. Even Kenny's second goal, Ralston picks the ball up quite deep. And he swings it, and Nygren gets the knockdown, and Kenny gets his second. That typically in a Rodgers side, you would see that ball go back and, or maybe go to the wing and then get recycled back across the midfield. And I thought, there was definitely a clear message to be more direct. And I think, players that haven't been playing like that, when they're asked to do that, obviously it's that's how you want to play the game, Ryan. You want to be, that's what was so amazing about Postecoglou's team. Although, you could leave yourself exposed at times, but it was high up the pitch, fast paced, and the player, you could see the players were enjoying how they played, and I think that was the case last night. I think they were enjoying themselves there. It seemed to me like, the link-ups with Konecki, Sarachi, Nygren. Nygren was all over the place. Mm-hmm. He looked like he was having an absolute field day. Just put him up here, there and everywhere and linking up. And he, it just looked to me, even James Forrest seemed to be like taking players on. It was a young James Forrest again, wasn't it? Even he was... It looked like they'd been told that, we wanted to play on the front foot. We wanted to play, I'm not saying Rodgers wasn't telling his team to do that, but under Rodgers, we definitely were a bit more pragmatic. It was like, build it back. If the opening's not there, recycle it back away and then try and find the gaps. It's just, I do believe the team were definitely told to be more direct with their play and get the ball moving quicker and get it into the box quicker. Forrest, he was by just a yard or two by his man, then he was whipping the ball. And typically it's just and even corner. I don't know. Was there many short corners last night as well? No many, mate. No many. If I can remember, no. That's a good point you made, mate. No, really, no. I remember seeing many short corners as well, so that's clearly a thing for O'Neill as well, to like get the ball in the box. You know, you've made a chance to score the balls, you know, anything can happen, handball, you know, a pull of the jersey, get the ball in the box.
Yep.
I definitely think there's, although it's early days and he's only had like, you know, maybe 48 hours in the job, but I think the message has been put out.
I think so as well, mate. It was definitely more direct. It was definitely more forward play. Some of the football was pretty good in the second half, like you mentioned, Engels. It was good to have McKibben as well. Fantastic pass for Taneki's goal. I thought Taneki showed some flashes of brilliance as well. I think what lets him down is maybe his final product, but he's a young guy, and the more he plays at this team, and obviously the stature, the pressure here, I think he will get better, mate. And obviously the manager situation. There's been rumours about Knutson for Bodo Glimt, Kieran McKenna at Ipswich, his name's been talked about. Craig Bellamy's name has been thrown about. I don't know if he actually said like they knew nothing of it today. McKenna said that he's not ruled it out, but he says I'm happy at Ipswich, but I'm not going to be here forever. So he's not really ruled it out. The Nicky Hayden for Bruges hasn't ruled it out either. Robbie Keane's been mentioned. Some fans might not like the idea of that, obviously, with the politics stuff, Rich. That's obviously nothing to do with us, but some fans have got their opinions on certain things, mate. But what's your thoughts on, is there anybody you think that is the ideal candidate for you, or is there somebody that you think could be the ideal fit, or is there any of the names that fill you with excitement, or names you don't want? Is there anything that you think's not been mentioned, the name that you maybe like?
Well, the guy McKenna, obviously, he's probably one I know least about. But speaking to people that do know about him and what he's achieved in the game and whatnot, they speak really, really highly of him. So he does fit the remit. But I think the list of candidates that's been put forward is exciting. It's exciting for us. There doesn't seem to be Robbie Keane probably the most out there one out of them all, but I think everyone that's been mentioned, I would be really excited about either way. I would throw in the mix. It would be quite funny if we tried to go for Muscat. That would be absolutely TV gold.
I actually seen that, by the way. I think it was John Higgins that mentioned it, and then within maybe 2 or 3 years, he was at 91 for the bookies because it. Somebody's obviously got a sly five on him with their Celtic manager.
I think it would be absolutely brilliant, mate. If we went and got Muscat and he went on to win the league and win a cup or win the treble, it would be fucking brilliant, man.
Oh, mate, imagine that. I'm actually going to put £1 in the spare jar as well, mate. It'd be fucking amazing. It would be. Imagine that Kevin Muscat rocks up to win the treble with Celtic.
It would be peak, man. It would be absolute peak.
Or there's Big Raps is even better. What about Steven Gerrard doing the treble for Celtic? I don't think it's going to happen, Rab, but listen, we didn't think Brendan Rodgers would be back for a second spell, so...
I'd say, I'm quite happy with the candidates that have been floated about. Obviously, the Bruges manager has done a tremendous job with him, and he fits our ethos, our transfer model, and that, he's clearly a guy that can, manage a club top to bottom well. And obviously the Bodo Glimt manager, he's been touted every time Celtic seem to be without a manager, his name comes up.
Yeah.
It never happens, but obviously he's done remarkably well with Bodo Glimt. He's really put them, he's gave them status. Up until that guy with him, you probably wouldn't have, you'd have done well to even have heard that Bodo Glimt before that. So he's really put them on the market. And I love his style of play. When they played against us, they were fucking electric.
Yep.
They really, really were. I thought, besides obviously coming up against Real Madrid and some of the other big hitters, I thought their football at Parkhead was really top level.
Yeah.
So if we managed to get him, that would be an absolute count. But I trust the board. I know there's a lot being said about their dealings over the last few months, and they haven't got it right. And sometimes sometimes you need to award them that. They're not perfect. You can't expect them to get it right every single time. That's just not how things work. They are going to get things wrong. But when we've needed managers to come in and steady the ship and move Celtic forward, or even continue the trajectory we've been on, the board have came up good. Even the appointment of Martin O'Neill, that was nobody would have saw that coming, and it was the right appointment. Who else would you? Nobody want. I wouldn't have wanted John Kennedy taking the first team manager's position. I wouldn't have wanted Maloney getting it. So to go and get Martin O'Neill, that was fantastic for the board. So I trust them to get it right, Ryan. I do. I think even when they got absolutely screwed over with Eddie Howe in the final hour, they got Postecoglou, coming off of our worst season in the last 20 years, where we were a side totally void of all motivation, totally dejected. We'd lost our captain as well. Scott Brown had retired. Callum McGregor took over the baton, and Postecoglou came in and he kept Celtic's trajectory going, winning the league and being the best team in Scotland and winning trophies, and Postecoglou achieved in that season more than what Gerrard achieved in his entire time at Rangers. He won a double, could have won a treble. So I have faith in the board to go out there and get the right man, and I think they'll act quick on it and all. I don't think they'll hang about. That's my opinion on it, Ryan.
Obviously, a wee question with JP. He says, lads, what about the info that John Kennedy was sacked? I don't know if you've heard, Shaun, but the rumours are, I don't think it's anything official to Celtic or anything, but there's rumours saying that either he's worked with Rodgers or he's been told to go with Rodgers at the same time. So, what do you make of that? Personally, maybe it was time for John to go, maybe something new, but the one thing that I think is pretty poor for the football club is that they're not even giving him I'm not saying that he needs a big send-off and a big payoff to say, bye, John, but at least a wee video he's certain moments as a player, maybe trophies he's won as a coach, maybe a wee send-off. I think that's pretty poor as a club, mate, because it goes back to even when James McCarthy left. He didn't even tell the fans that he'd been released. Now, I know James McCarthy wasn't Petrov or Zidane or anything like that, but he still helped you win trophies. Yeah. He was part of a successful team. Get back to the game against St Johnstone for Jackie Marcus's goal. If that didn't happen, would you win the league? We don't know. He was still helped the team. I know he didn't play as many games as he probably should have or he could have, or injuries, etc. maybe isn't good enough, but the fact that he didn't even get a send-off, but he didn't even get a tweet or anything saying, thanks, James, for your efforts, enjoy the rest of your career, or good luck in your career. I think the thing about Kennedy, mate, I think that's pretty poor for the club, mate, personally.
Well, until you said that, Ryan, I hadn't even considered that. Totally just not even, crossed my radar, but I think you're absolutely spot on. He should get some recognition for his time and what he's gave to Celtic over the years. Like him or love him, he deserves that. He's gave a lot to this club, and he's been part of a lot of the success that's came towards the club. But it's I don't know. I don't know these whole rumours things, and I can't really entertain it. I think maybe it's just coincidental that he's left when Rodgers is left. Maybe he's just thought it's the right time, because like I said earlier on, he was probably going to go with Ange to Tottenham.
Yeah,
that seemed, and he only stayed because Rodgers was coming in. So it was the fact that Rodgers came back and obviously spoke to Kennedy that he decided to stay on, or else he was probably going to leave. So maybe that's just been part of his thought process that, right, Rodgers has now left, now's the time for me to move on, type of thing. But I think you're spot on. The club should come out and give him some sort of recognition, even if he's been sacked. Like, he has gave a lot to Celtic, both as a player and as a coach.
No, I agree with you, mate. It maybe was time for him to go, because obviously there's rumours about Susan Whelan for Leicester coming as CEO at the club. There's rumours Nicholson's leaving. Rumours about Peter Lawwell's retiring soon. There's loads of things. Wally Hockey. There's seen rumours today online. Partly Wally Hockey might be in the boardroom soon, or in part of the club. So there's definitely a shake-up, mate, at the club. We'll obviously see next few weeks or so, next few days, if any of that does come to fruition. But obviously the game on Sunday, mate, wee bit of confidence now from the game at the weekend. Are you more confident now that you'll get a result with, as much as I can't even believe me saying this, that Brendan's not here? Obviously, he's years out, the last few years, he's basically had Scottish football at the palm of his hand, and he's ruled the roost against Rangers, and but the last few games against him, we've been probably tactically sometimes outclassed, outfought sometimes. We've not really, even the game at Ibrox, they were there for the taking. For me, I know Danny Rowe, listen, I think Danny Rowe will do well with Rangers. I'm not saying they'll win anything, but I do think that he'll improve them. I think he's still getting a bit of disrespect. I think Danny Rowe's a decent manager, very good manager actually. Obviously, Baz has spoken about him highly, so you've got to take. I know that's Baz's obviously opinion of him, but he's worked with him closely and he's obviously said how good he is. So you've got to be honest and say, yeah, he's probably a good manager and he probably will improve him. But it's down to us, obviously, to turn up on Sunday, Shaun. New manager bounce could help us, new freshness, a new lease of life. Martin O'Neill's been through this remedy before. He's beat Rangers, maybe a few quid in 6-2 at the weekend, maybe a wee pound in 6-2. But obviously, Martin has been through this before. I know he's getting older, Shaun, but like I said to JP, actually, I was talking to JP on the phone this morning, that feeling of the team talks or that feeling of these games, that won't leave Martin. Martin will know as soon as he steps into Hampden, he'll know what to say to the team. He'll probably his team talk all lined up. So do you think this is actually we actually, I don't want to say mega favourites or anything, but would you say we're actually more of a chance now to actually go and put in a really good performance against Rangers Sunday, with obviously Rodgers not here and a bit of freshness now, and obviously the performance and result yesterday, mate?
Absolutely, Ryan. I absolutely do think we stand in bed. And again, I go back to the board and Dermot, and although they've not got a lot of things right, especially the for transfer dealings this season, but they went and got somebody that's a Celtic man who's besides Rodgers, probably next, the third best, most successful manager at Celtic, took us to a Europa League final, and we on another day with another ref, another team, we could have probably won that final because that mob were as dirty as hell, but they had one of the best coaches in the world at that time who won a Europa League and then went on to win the Champions League in Mourinho. But Martin O'Neill took him all the way, scored 2 goals, and so you're regardless of age, Martin O'Neill is a top level coach and manager, and he's a big character. So the fact that and nobody saw that coming, and the fact that the board went and done that, and Desmond made that happen, it stood us in good stead for Sunday, mate, because whoever else might have been in that dugout for us, it could have looked a lot fucking worse. And pardon my French, but that's me pounding the sun bin. But it looks put it this way, it looks a hell of a lot better going into Sunday with Martin O'Neill in the dugout. As I say, he knows what it takes in these big games. He knows how to approach them. He's going to be a cool head. In terms of Danny Rowe, I don't know much about him, but if I was to look at it objectively, he's not had the pressure of a job at Rangers. I look at the managers that have been in, Beale, who knew the club, obviously had been there. Gio, I know, knew the club, been there, was successful with them. He won a cup and took them to a Europa League final. Got chased out. Beale got chased out. Clement, who'd been successful, won stuff before, done well with teams before he came in. He got chased out. So I don't know. The jury's still out for me on what Danny Rowe's tenure is going to be like at the end, but. It's going to make for an interesting game on Sunday, Ryan. I just don't know, I don't know what way it's going to go, but I feel a lot more confident now with O'Neill, and even probably would say I feel more confident, bizarrely, than what I would have with Rodgers going in, purely because Rodgers' inability to, certainly this season, adapt at the right times, make the right subs, and galvanise this team. Like you said, they were there for the take at Ibrox. They weren't good. They were just hatchet men all day. They were just going about trying to kick lumps at us. I mean, Diamondi, I don't even know how he stayed on the pitch every time. McGregor or anybody for that matter.
But it's every game with him, though, Sean.
He's a horrible player. I don't like that. I know there's certain players that come along for them that I just don't like.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like. They're just hatchet men. Lundstrom, Diamondi, Morelos, just total hatchet men. They totally fit their ethos as a club. Horrible, rotten to the core.
Get it up, go on.
No, but they just these certain players come along and they just even that Gassama, a great player, but oh my God, like you've even seen some of the Rangers fans saying, "Get up," but you did.
Mm-hmm.
The game they played, the last game, that mob that beat them, what was it? The
Brand. He dived the penalty for the penalty.
Aye, and then even like late on into the game, it was like the 89th minute, and he's diving down and throwing his arms up, like, yeah, get beat 3-0, get up, but he played it. So, that game in particular, at the versus Diamondi he was just pulling people down off the ball. He done it about 2 or 3 times. So I think O'Neill's the era that O'Neill coached and managed Celtic in was a highly competitive era for both clubs. Celtic, Rangers, and there was matches where you needed players to be, get a bit of fight in you and a bit of dig. Neil Lennon, for one, was would get stuck in. So I think Martin O'Neill knows what you need to do in these games. Obviously, Rodgers did as well. He was successful, and he was, his record in the games was phenomenal. But just the past few times I've watched Celtic against Rangers with Rodgers at the helm, I just was not impressed. I will say this much: the game that I think you'd say in the last 5, we had more than 90 minutes. But what I will say is the game that we needed to win, we won. The cup final. Obviously, we went a long way about it, and it was a very competitive match. It was a great match, to be honest. I can say that because we were on the winning side in the end up. But in terms of like a derby, you couldn't ask for anything more. There was like, you think you've got the winning goal with, I can't remember who it was. Who was it that got the? Was it Ida? Was it Ida?
Bernardo and Ida. Aye, Bernardo shot and Ida. Aye.
No, the one that they took them to penalties. We'd scored, and you're thinking that was it Kuhn? I think it was Kuhn. Arnie Engels played it back. Couldn't go to the goal.
You might be right. Aye.
Engels played it back. Couldn't go to the goal. They run away into the corner, thinking we've won it, and then literally about 2-3 minutes later, Danilo goes up the park and bags.
That's right. Aye, you're right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was a fantastic game. But Sunday, as I say, I don't know what it's going to look like because we're not going into it in great form. We've obviously, our main man's walked away. They've got a guy in that's not really been tested yet. His results have been a bit up and down. They won at home, but they didn't 3-1 against, what was it, Kilmarnock.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it, but from what I heard, it wasn't a very convincing one. So they've no hurt it yet either. So it's going to be a really, really interesting tie, mate.
No, I think it will, mate. Obviously, I think just me. I don't think we can go 6 games in 90 minutes, mate, and no beat them, or just 6 games in general and no beat them. I know if we do win in penalties or anything, then fair enough. But I think we need to win in 90 minutes, mate. Listen, obviously, if we win in penalties or extra time or whatever it is, then listen, fair enough. We'll take it. And just win. But I do think that I'd like us to do in 90 minutes, mate. I've been pretty disappointed in the last few games against Rangers. We've not been physical at all, and we all know how. Obviously, we don't know how. Well, they might play more football this time because obviously Dyer likes to play football. But previous games, we always knew what we were going to do. And like you mentioned, mate, Rodgers, I think if he didn't stick to his style, it didn't work. It was like, right, what did they do? They're just throwing him, and we'll try this. So I'm definitely more confident in the game. I'm always confident with Celtic, mate, in these games. I still think we've got a far better team on our day. So it's just. I just think that if we turn up, I think if we turn up, mate, I know I keep saying that on here. If we turn up, when we turn up, I still think we win the game. I think the Martin's man management style and being here and done it before, a bit of an old head, it could be a really good thing for us. Because, like you say, Shaun, it's freshness as well. New ideas, the shackles could be off, and it might go, listen, forget about if it's a semi-final, but just go and enjoy yourself. Go and score goals, go and create. So even though it's not going to be on Martin or Shaun if the result don't go for us, it's on the players. But I just think for me, mate, I think we really need to win this game, ideally in 90 minutes. But I think it could shape our season if we don't or do. I think it's a massive game for us. Obviously, getting to the first final of the season, it's massive, mate. So obviously, your team, JP says, do you think Chinisal will play? Could. As a cup game, he might do. Personally, JP, I don't think he will, but I'm a big advocate for him playing the cup game, Shaun. I think he should. The second in command, in my opinion, should be getting some of the cup games because he's got to get playing, he's got to get game time, especially if he's the one that's going to maybe come in next season or the year after. I think Casper will play, but what is obviously your thoughts of the game of Sunday, mate, and your team selection?
I think the team that started last night will probably be the team that starts on Sunday, Ryan. I think that's probably why O'Neill picked the side that he did. I think he's picked them with that in mind. I don't think he'll change it. I'd probably throw a spanner in the working because I like what he offers us going forward. I'd put Donovan in there, but with obviously the type of game it is, they might just go for that older head at the back, somebody who's been with the club long and Scottish international, and got a lot of games under his belt and caps. So I think they'll go unchanged, mate, for Sunday. I can't see them given the way they played. Obviously the result they got, unchanged for me, Ryan.
No, listen, I'm fine with that. I think for me, just because of the way he came on the park and done well, I think he'll play the same backline. I don't think it'll change. Same midfield. I think it will be Konecki, Maeda and Forrest. I think just the experience of Forrest, like you mentioned, with the older head, maybe with Ralston. I know I'm like you, I'm like Barry, your brother. I'm no Ralston's biggest fan whatsoever. But I think the experience in this game, I know he might not be great, he might not be better than dominant to some people, but I just think this game needs experience, especially at Hampden, big park, big pressure game. I think he needs all the experience in the team to help. I know Martin's obviously experienced and so is Shaun, but I think he needs experience, guys. Like, I know Ralston's still young, but he has experience in terms of how long he's been here. So, I think the same midfield, mate, same defence, same goalkeeper. Just for me, mate, I know Johnny Kenny done well at the weekend, during the week there. It probably would be harsh to drop him because obviously when I played as a striker myself, if I scored 2 goals and I'm not playing the next game, I'm going to go, minute here. Why am I not playing? But I think the magnitude of the game, Dane Murray get thrown in, like you mentioned, against Hearts, probably shouldn't have in the match of the game. The match of the game for Kenny, would you rather go with maybe the experienced header, Dyson Maeda, who's been there, done it? Well, no, he's fully fit. I know to play the full game, Shaun. That's probably the only stumbling block. But That's kind of my team, mate. And obviously, predictions, if any, mate, you're just going to go for a win and you're going to go 4-0, 6-2. What's the feeling?
I think, I don't know, man. I really don't know. I think I'm
Just
going to
win.
I'm going to back my team to go and win, mate. I think I think if we go and play forward and direct and get at them, it could be a 2-1, 3-1 type result. But I think I'm going to back my team to go and get the win and get it in 90 minutes. I think obviously they're obviously a new side put together as well. This guy's never played, never married in a derby like this. Regardless of what he's done and where he's coached and who he's, what stadiums he's been at what level, he's no coached or managed in a Glasgow derby. It's a different ball game, different expectation, different pressure. Martin O'Neill has, so that to me gives us an advantage right away. And all of their players again, likewise, they haven't played at this type of pressure in a cup game, so our players have. So I think we could go. I'd love to see us go there and get it done in the 90 minutes. I think we're more than capable of doing that, Ryan. It's going to be an interesting game, mate.
Well, I'm the same as you, mate. I think we're definitely more than equal to go and get the result in 90 minutes. And I think we will, mate. So we'll see on Sunday. Obviously, I had team lines. Obviously, JP says Johnson trained. Is it a game to throw him in if he's even 80%, 70% fit? Possibly. Or do you keep him for maybe the second half, maybe the last 20 minutes if you're struggling or you maybe need a bit of energy? It's good to have, as you mentioned, Shaun, it's good to have that kind of backup and experience as well. So, and it gives you that physicality as well. So, yeah.
And he's more direct. He's more direct.
I think we can say that. Definitely, mate. As much as we've got to respect him for what he's done, Alistair Johnson's a better player, mate. So, but again, thanks for your comments. Obviously, I can't get through them all. Obviously, me and Shaun's had a wee chat as well. Thanks again to the like and the subscribes. Please do keep liking and subscribing. It helps the channel. It helps us obviously put this out to you. It is free of charge. Just click your wee bell and a wee notification. We are on Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter. Just give us a wee follow for all the latest updates. We will be back on possibly tomorrow. I think JP will be on with a few of the lads tomorrow. We'll keep obviously the socials going. Just let us know. We'll let you know, if we're obviously on tomorrow. Just check all the social media platforms. Enjoy the game if you're going. Keep safe. Obviously, if you're out of town to watch it, keep safe. And if you're watching at the house, enjoy and hopefully we're celebrating and our final. But until then, I will see you all probably next week. I'll be on. Shaun probably the same. He's not on tomorrow with the lads. But Shaun, enjoy the game, mate. Stay safe like the rest of the guys, and we'll see you all very, very soon.
Thanks, Ryan.
Hail,
everybody.
Cheers, mate.
Sets up Larsson here. Larsson. Oh, he's in! Henrik Larsson! That is sensational! O'Reilly, how about that for a pass? Jota! How about that for a finish? That is Jota for you!
In for Henrik Larsson, and Moravcik! His first goal for Celtic!
Here is Shunsuke Nakamura! Exquisite!